Well, hello there, Stampers. This is Sheila with Stampin' Wishes, and I'm here today to make my July birthday card, and for a couple of people, belated June card, so got a little bit behind schedule. But this is the card we're going to be making. Very quick, very simple. They say it's your birthday. Happy birthday. It's sure to be a fun day. And I'm using the two, and also here's the envelope that goes with it. But I'm using the Itty Bitty Birthdays. Love the stamp set. And of course, one of my new favorites is Daisy Lane. Can't do without that one. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right, these are your measurements, and I'll have everything on the blog, so you don't need to worry about writing anything down. It'll all be there. But I'm using the thick Whisper White. It's cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to score it by 4 1/4. And then I have the Real Red. It's 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And then the Blueberry Bushel, this one is 2 1/4 by 5.5. And then I have the DSP, which is the this one right here, Bright 6x6 Designer Series paper, and I'm using the Blueberry Bushel, and it cuts, or it's cut at 1 inch by 4 1/4 inches. And then we're going to have some scraps over here where I'll be cutting out one of the daisies. So here's some of my scraps that I've got handy over here. We're going to be using the punches for today. I'm using the Pretty Label punch, and also the medium daisy punch. So let's go ahead and get started with the card. And as I said, this one's a very quick and easy one. I think you would enjoy making more and more. Sorry about that. It's opened up on me. Okay, so let's go ahead and score this at 4 1/4. Let me get this over here. There we go. I think you can see it from here. So we line it up at 4 1/4, and we'll go ahead and score it. I always like to, a lot of times you'll notice I just fold my cards over, but when I'm using the thick Whisper White, I do like to use a score line only because it is thicker and you get a nicer crease on them. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and put on, or we can prepare, let's do that. Let's prepare everything so that we can assemble it all at one time. I'm going to use this piece of scrap, and we're going to stamp the front of the card that says, they say it's your birthday. And I have brought in my Stamparatus, which I have already set up for both the outside and inside. So let's go ahead and do this one, and let's see, I think I lined it up on this. I have little squares there where I line things up, so hopefully I have it lined up right. And I'm going to use the Real Red ink, and we're going to ink this up. And I like to use, I love to use my Stamparatus, because if I don't ink well enough and I don't give it that 10-minute or 10-second rule about getting the ink to get onto the paper, then obviously I wouldn't have a very good stamp. So I like having that capability of restamping beautiful, nice and bright and clear. That's what I like about that stamp set. Okay, so while we've got it out, let's go ahead and bring in our 4 1/4 by, I think I've got it here. Oh, maybe I didn't. Well, let me grab some paper real quick. We'll cut it. So we're going to do 4 inches by 5 1/4 for the inside stamp. So let's go ahead and bring our cutter out here. I'm going to close this up before I get it all over everything. And line this up at, let's go this way in case I need the other sheet to be wider. So we're going to go ahead and do 5 1/4. And then we're going to do a 4. And this again is for our inside. Okay, set that aside and bring our Stamparatus back in, because I better leave it there, because let me just turn it this way and move this over. Okay, so we're going to line this up where my little corner block is, and I try and do this especially when I'm doing multiple cards, because it's just so much faster for me to just get in there, but evidently that wasn't the right one I lined up with. Let's go up here. That's the problem. You got to erase your other ones when you're done with them. Either that or make them different colors. Well, oh, that's right. This one, I almost made the same mistake I did earlier. This is a side card, so it's got to come in at a side angle and not up and down like I was trying to do it. The first one I did when I was designing the card is exactly what I did. Well, maybe I didn't line it. I thought I had lined these up somehow or another, but maybe this is it here. Check this out and see. Yep, that was it. All right, so we're going to do this one again in the real red. But anyway, what I was saying is that the first time I do it, I'm so used to doing all of my cards up and down that when I do a side one like this, if I'm not really focused, I do them wrong, but I save them and use them in the cards that are going to go vertical. So, or I guess you could say portrait versus landscaping would be another way of putting it. So got all of our stamping done for that. So let's go ahead and pull this out, and we'll decorate with the daisy a little bit later when we do the envelope as well, and when we're punching the daisy out. So let's put this aside. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and let's punch our daisy and get it ready. So I needed a scrap of some pieces here. So let's go with the blue. Excuse me. You'll have to excuse the bell ringing in the background. Every time I come in here to film, if I close my barn doors, my little doggies are trained to want to go outside by ringing a bell, and so they start ringing it like crazy. It's almost inevitable that they're going to do it, but I just have to ignore through it because I know they had gone out earlier. So all right, there's our three. Okay, with my daisy, I do like to do the flower forming, and I use the stylus. This one I originally got from Help Felt Creations because it's got several pieces that come with it, and you can just change them out to whatever size you're doing depending on the floral that you're doing. So what I'm going to do is just bring the thinner one in, and I draw it towards me. And I'm not wanting a real deep, because this is on the front of the card, and I know it'll probably get squished a little bit, so I don't want to go too deep with the petals. And then I flip it over and use the larger ball, and you just kind of do a circular motion. You can kind of see how the daisy forms real nicely. And so the white is our next layer, so let's go ahead and bring it in. And I'll show you the difference. If I press down really hard, see how it really curls? And so what I'm doing is doing kind of a medium press, and that gives me a less curled effect for the flower. Okay, flip over and then do a circular motion. Get that going. Okay, and then we're going to do the blue. I love flower shaping. I do photo albums as well when I have time, and I do a lot of my own embellishments and building floral type stuff, roses and other type of flowers and leaves and stuff. So that's one of my real favorites to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and get us some glue dots here, and we will layer. Let's start, oh, there's that one there. We'll start by the red one being on the bottom, because we go red, white, and blue. I don't know why. I never knew the reason behind that. I don't even know if there is. But when I think of red, white, and blue, it's not blue, white, and red. It's always red, white, and blue. So that's the way I'm decided I wanted to layer them. And with your daisy, when you're working with the multiple petals like this, you want to kind of offset them before you push that down. And then when you're using 3, it's a little bit harder to get that third color in there. So you really kind of have to focus in on where you're putting it so that you don't cover your red and your white when you're doing it. So let's go ahead and bring this up, and we're going to offset it just a little bit like this so that there we can see all three colors. Okay, and we'll go ahead and put a dimensional on the back of it for when we're ready to put it on. And we might as well go ahead and put, I'm using the beautiful clear frosted epoxy droplets. I love, love, love these. Really like them a lot, as you can tell. And I was so tickled when I saw them in the new catalog. I'm going to do something a little bit different here, though. The other one I did not color, but I think we're going to try coloring this one. Let me get our dark cherry cobbler and come in here and see what it looks like colored. Oh, I like that. The first one I did, I just left it clear, but I kind of like that red coming back through on it. Okay, so let's set this one aside. And so now we can start building part of our card. We can go ahead and do our stamping on our envelope real quick, and then we're ready to completely assemble. So let's bring out the blue. And I'm going to bring out, hopefully I have some, I call it my scrap stamping papers. I had it over here earlier. You can always tell when yeah, here it is. It's pretty well worn, but I keep using it until I can't see anything else. It's my little measurement scraps and different things like that that I do with it. So let's go ahead and using our blueberry and blueberry bushel. And we'll come in here, and it looks like I got some on me, so I better clean it off before I get it on the card. And bring that into the corner there. I love the definition of these stamps. They're so clear and crisp. I think that's why I like that the new Daisy Lane so much, is because they're all like that. And I don't know if you noticed on my block, but I have a block for two sides. One being, of course, for my cling stamps like that. And if you notice, this is a strip of the leftovers from a cling stamp that I put on there for when I'm doing my clear stamps. And that way I don't have to put them on each one of the stamps themselves. I can just have it on the block and have it either way. And if it gets to where it doesn't stick anymore, I've got plenty to add to it. So that's just kind of a little hint there if you like the effects of the cling stamps, which I do because I don't have to worry about them falling off in the middle of stamping. I love what they did here. And yeah, that's some adjusting too. Some people have a love-hate relationship with it, but it was just a matter of getting used to how they work and working the way they need to work themselves out. So okay, so there's our envelope, and let's go ahead and put one more daisy on the back here for good luck. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, we'll set that aside, and now we're ready to punch and assemble. So what I did was to use my Pretty Label punch, and I wanted it to be, because the red is the larger of the two, I wanted it to be where I could slip a white like this is in here, okay? And what I'll do is end up trimming this white off wherever I need it to center into this. And this way it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. I want to bring it near this edge, but leave a little bit of edging, and you can see that on this side here. And then just go ahead, and when you feel like you've got it centered, whoops, unless it slips on you. Okay, and when you feel like you have it centered, go ahead and punch it, and I'll put this aside because I'll use it for another card. And then now we can see how we can get this centered in. And at that point, then I'll just take and sliver off some of this. I just need enough there on that side where this will be centered. And when you do that, make sure you don't cut off too much because it could have to stamp again. So I'm going to bring my glue in, but I'm going to be putting the glue right around the edges here. In fact, I'm going to bring my silicone sheet out. That way I won't get it in my workspace if I happen to swish over a little bit. Okay, so we get it started, and I'm just going to go around these edges where I need the white to stick. because we're going to be gluing the blue to the red, so you'll have a double support there. So we want to come in here and make sure that it looks like it's pretty even, and when it is, go ahead and push it down. Okay, now on the blue one, if you noticed on this card, I did make a little flagged in on it. I thought that kind of added to it, and you could flag both of them if you wanted to. We may try that for just something a little different and see what it looks like. So we're going to come in here and go in the middle, and you can use your punches for this. The tailored punch works for flagging. It works real well, but I've always liked just doing this one and eyeing it where you need it to. Okay, so we're going to line this up because we're going to have it exactly at the end there. And then we'll come down just a little bit where this one is not flagged up as deep as that one is, and go from the corner to that center and come from the other side and do the same thing. Oh, didn't cut quite into that. Come back in there and nip that. See if I got it that time. I actually cut there. Let's trim it up. Trying to be careful and then didn't cut enough, so. We've had a lot of humidity here. I live in the New Braunfels, Texas area, and we've had a good amount of rain, which is great, except for it has made it so humid. Let me just trim the whole thing up because I've gotten it crooked now. And I've noticed that my papers, even though I'm in air conditioning and things like that, but I've noticed my paper sometimes cuts with that bit of humidity, I think, that's in the air, affects my paper as well. So. Well, to be honest with you, I don't think I like that. So I'm going to cut another piece. I don't like it didn't come, maybe I should have gone closer in and followed it around the edge there. I don't know, but I don't care for it. So we're going to, that's the fun part of making your card. You can change it up however you want to. So I said we were at 5.5, and I believe this is the 5.5 side. Nope, this must be it. There's my 5.5, so we want to go in at 2.5. And that's the nice thing too about these measurements, is you can make several of them, because when you cut your paper in half like that, then you just go 2.5 and 2.5 and 2.5. And we're going to leave that alone this time and go ahead and glue this piece onto it. Now, if you wanted to, you could use dimensionals and give this some dimension and everything when you put it on the card. But I decided with having the daisy have the dimension that I would not do it with the this portion, the greeting portion of the card. Let's slide that on over. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our DSP in. And I just love the way this gingham, I call it gingham, I don't know if it's checks or gingham or what, but reminds me of country gingham, and this card kind of reminded me of a little country daisy, and the gingham paper that goes with it. And then of course, with it being the 4th of July month and everything, it just all kind of came together, and thought it was a good pattern for it. I wish they would have kept our the Night of Navy checkered ribbon that we had last year. That was another one of my favorites. I actually have a little bit of it left. I don't know if y'all can see that, but I can see a little bit of a tail there that shouldn't be there. There we go. All right, so we'll put that about midway there. And like I said, this is just a real quick and simple card, which when you're making several, you need to keep that in mind in your design. Otherwise, you can spend quite a bit of time making each of the cards, which is great if you have that kind of time, but not all of us do. Okay, let's put our inside greeting in. And we're going to call this a wrap here in just a second. Well, today is the 4th of July, so here's to everybody out there. I pray you have a safe and blessed 4th of July, and for all of our troops out there that are protecting our freedom and safety. Thank you for everything that you do. And may God bless you and bring you home safely wherever you're at. All right, so let's go ahead and let's bring it down about there. I like that. Okay. So let's go ahead and mash that in. And there's our cards. Here's the first one. One without the red, one with the red, and then our envelopes that match. And then again, there's your inside. All right, till next time, happy stamping.